Hello and welcome to the National Focus. I'm Nisha Charles. Coming up, Dominica's Education Minister rallies in support of diaspora donors. Construction continues on the Newtown Primary School, and the Honourable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit speaks on religious freedom and selfless giving. Stay tuned for details of these and other stories after the break.
A lot of bathtubs are blamed for bruises. Some staircases are accused of being responsible for broken bones. Doors are occasionally viewed suspiciously as causing lesions. A high percentage of tables are accused of producing bleeding or trauma. Violence against women is a crime, and it's everyone's responsibility. It's inexcusable. If you're a victim or witness of physical or psychological violence or abuse, seek help and denounce the perpetrator.
Thanks for staying with us. Residents of the community of Penville were urged to be thankful for the freedom to worship God openly on Sunday, August 17th at the Penville Roman Catholic Church. This call came from the Honourable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, who attended the Mass held to commemorate the feast of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which is also the parish feast.
We are celebrating this feast at a time when many parts of the world is in turmoil. We have in Iraq a group called ISIS that is pursuing Christians with a view to exterminating them from the face of the earth. But here in Dominica, we have absolute religious freedom, and we do not need to have any form of protection to worship in our country. And I think it is something that we have to guard, it is something that we have to cherish, and it's something all of us must continue to aspire for. Because there are many parts of the world where people do not have that level of freedom.
The nation's leader made note of the scripture read during the Mass, which emphasized giving to the less fortunate.
We have to look after the less fortunate in our society. This is not a choice. It is a responsibility which we have to care for the elderly and the less fortunate among us. And this is why I have led a government that has placed the less fortunate at the center of our programs to ensure that those among us who are not able to take care of ourselves, we can do so.
According to the Honourable Prime Minister, a community effort is needed to encourage the sharing spirit.
It is not only the responsibility of the government, it is the responsibility of each one of us. If you have too much, you should share with your neighbor who doesn't have anything. If a child next door does not have a pair of shoes to go to school, it should be our responsibility, those of us who can afford to buy the child a pair of shoes.
The Mass was also attended by His Excellency the President, Charles A. Savre, and his wife, as well as other government officials. In other news, the Honourable Education Minister, Peter Saint-Jean, says that the People's Republic of China's scholarship program is a manifestation of the Chinese government's commitment to assisting Dominica's citizens. The Honourable Minister was represented in absentia at Friday 15th scholarship presentation ceremony by the Senior Administrative Officer in the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development, Chandler Hyacinth.
Education improves the quality of people's lives and lends to broad social benefits to individuals and, importantly, to society at large. As government, we are seeking to increase productivity and creativity, promote entrepreneurship, and keep up to date with technological advances. By educating our young people, we hope to harness all these gains in order to secure economic and social progress in Dominica.
Hyacinth read from a statement prepared by the minister that no country can achieve sustainable economic development without investment in its human capital.
The ongoing is the construction of the state-of-the-art Newtown Primary School, which will provide students of that area with a modern facility for effective teaching and learning. Though plagued with a few technical difficulties, the project is on stream, and the government looks forward to the new facility opening its doors on schedule. The new Dominica State College remains a source of pride. As Dominicans, we can now access tertiary education in a significantly improved setting. The government of Dominica is also in talks with the Chinese government for the implementation of China-Dominica Human Resource Training and Exchange Program for the period 2015 to 2018. Under this program, China will provide short stints of training for groups of nationals in preferred fields of interest for national development. The Chinese government has also stated plans to increase the number of youth and middle-aged Dominican nationals admitted to its Chinese institutions of higher learning to read for diplomas, master's degrees, and doctorates.
The Education Minister says the People's Republic of China has also expressed interest in conducting training seminars in Dominica in areas selected by Dominican government. The 9 individuals awarded with scholarships at Friday's ceremony brings to 135 the number of Dominican nationals who have benefited from the Dominica-China Scholarship Program. Also this week, it was announced that construction continues on the Newtown Primary School as the team looks to complete the project by 2015. The contract for the $6 million state-of-the-art school was signed in October 2013, and the project is expected to be complete in 18 months. The Honourable Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, Peter Senja, has said that work is underway and will be completed in the stipulated time.
We had some technical difficulties that has been addressed, and as I speak, work continues on the Newtown Primary School. Of course, since we had some technical difficulties, there would have been a slight break in works, but we do not expect any major changes as it relates, major that is, to the delivery date of the school plant. So work is continuing, and we anticipate that within the stipulated time that the students of the Newtown area will be in the new school.
About 200 students from the school were relocated to the Bath Estate campus of the Dominica State College in January of 2014 to facilitate the construction of the new school.
Let's get real. That is, all things being equal. And by that I mean, from time to time you may have some setbacks. We live in a tropical island. One lies in the middle of the hurricane path, so that there may be some difficulties, challenges that would warrant a slight change in the anticipated date.
The new school will house a principal's office, staff room, secretary's office, 14 classrooms, library, science lab, a sick bay, art room, kitchen and washroom facilities. In other news, the Caribbean community has started creating a harmonizing framework within which companies and other businesses can be established and operate in the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, the CSME. CARICOM heads gave this mandate to ensure that the rules for establishing and operating businesses in one country apply throughout the CSME. The consultant has been awarded the contract to strengthen the CSME regulatory and market regimes. The 2-year consultancy started last month with funding through the 10th European Development Fund and is expected to be complete by July 2016. There are 4 result areas within the project. In addition to the single jurisdiction, the project will also strengthen the framework for regulating competition, consumer protection, and create the structure for companies from startup to bankruptcy. The Honourable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance and Foreign Affairs, Roosevelt Skerrit, headed a high-level delegation to the 35th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, last month, where the region's business operating environment was reviewed with a view towards improving its doing business indicators. In more education news, Dominica's Honourable Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, Peter Senja, sees no reason why the Dominican diaspora should be prohibited from contribution to nation building. Honourable Saint-Jean was speaking at a ceremony on Saturday where a student of his constituency, La Plaine, was awarded a $1,000 scholarship by a group of Dominicans based both locally and overseas.
This is contrary to what is said by a number of people going across Dominica, all over Dominica, condemning our own people who live in the diaspora, telling them that they have no business here in Dominica. We are saying in a very powerful way that we do not just come back to contribute once every 5 years, but that throughout the 5-year period, we remember those who we have left behind and we are contributing to their development.
The minister went further to throw his support behind the diaspora donor group, which he says clearly recognizes the mission that every child must be made to succeed.
I've been advised that this is a group of concerned Dominicans, both here and overseas, what we refer to as the diaspora, and I must also add, one common factor is that all of these individuals belong to the Dominica Labour Party, and I feel good about that. Some of them are in the diaspora, but they are all part of the Dominica Labour Party. They understand and recognize the vision and the mission of the government of Dominica, the Ministry of Education, that every child should or must succeed. But in order for children to succeed, we must create for them a supportive, conducive environment in which they can do well.
The group's chairman affirmed that one of the group's objectives is to give back to Dominica and support the good work of the Labour Party government. The Caribbean Examination Council, CXC, will be adding the nursing exam to their list of examinations. Local CXC Registrar Catherine Daniel announced last Friday that come October of 2015, students will have the opportunity to sit their first nursing exam for CXC.
CXC is going to take part in next year. We are also going into nursing exam, and come October, CXC will be testing for the licensure of nurses. So that's the first exam.
CXC also announced that by 2015, most of their examinations will be marked through the e-marking system. Ms. Daniel explains how the system works.
One of the effectiveness of that system is the correctness of getting the children's scores. Because doing it manually, you have human error, but the system was so good that the scores would be corrected. So this year maybe people would query if you see an A or B, and if you could get a grade 1, I think for the score counting, it would be different. From next year, almost all of the subjects will be marked electronically. Very few subjects will be marked on a face-to-face marking system.
Finally, this news time, 20 elders have been endowed with the prestigious gift of movement thanks to the Dominica Guadeloupe Association. The association made a donation of 28 wheelchairs to the Dominica Council on Aging on Friday, 15th August at the Dominica Public Service Union. Honourable Minister for Social Services Gloria Shillingford expressed gratitude to the association on behalf of her ministry.
It is a pleasure for us here, and I want to thank you on behalf of our ministry. You have made work for us a little easier, and also on behalf of the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica for all the work that you have been doing to help the elderly here in Dominica, and so particularly Dominica Council on Aging, and also the City Council. We here in Dominica, we here as a Labour Party government, we here as the government of Dominica, we take particular interest in the elderly, and more so Council of Aging, Dominica Council of Aging, who advocate very heavily for the elderly here in Dominica.
Her Lordship Irene John, Mayor of Roseau, informed that the association's generosity will benefit more than just the elderly in her area.
We have this young child who is on a wheelchair, and she has to be supported by someone at all times, either a family member or friend or whatever. And if you could just grace us with that piece of equipment that can have her move about on her own, not having somebody to push her or to pull her at all times, but something that she can just press a button and go places on her own. Of course, she has to be guided, but she will feel more independent if she can move on her own. And in less than no time, Mr. Paul responded. And Mr. Paul calls me at any time, morning, noon, or night, anytime. And he said, Mrs. John, I'm working with you. Our council in Guadeloupe really want to work with you and to help you in whatever way we can. And when he responded so promptly and told me that he got two chairs for me, one for an elderly person and one for that child, words cannot express how I felt when I got that call.
The Dominica Guadeloupe Association partnered with Dr. Pierre Lodela, president of Cur Self-Del of Guadafrique, and Secours Catholique of Guadeloupe, who was represented by its secretary. According to President of the Dominica Guadeloupe Association, Maimon Paul, the three groups will continue to collaborate in an effort to do more philanthropic work in Dominica.
They're going to work alongside with the Dominica Guadeloupe Association, and we can bring things together. As we always say, that's what I always say, together we can make a difference. So these two groups are going to work with us. So we are back in Dominica, and we are going to Sione. You know what I call Sione? We're going to go through Dominica again with these two groups and sit there, and we're going back to Guadeloupe and tell our friends over there we can make the difference.
Beds and clothing were also part of the donation. Before we leave, an announcement from the Roseau City Council. Property owners who are in default of land and house rates are kindly requested to visit the office of the Roseau City Council to settle outstanding amounts. Failure to comply with the notice will result in publication of names in the newspapers and court action. And that's the English news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Hello tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Moi c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, étudier Dominique fait autant bien en plaisir ces sujets-là yo écrit examination CXC, bagay ministre éducation plaisir pour. Quand même si le ministre de l'Éducation, Honourable Peter Saint-Jean, langage qu'a continué sujet qui méritait plus attention.
L'année ça nous avons en presque tout sujet qui ont écrit, c'est peuple, ces enfants Dominique là, ils ont fait autant mais passer l'autre l'année. C'est un sujet vraiment qui nous qui ont pas fait bien qu'on ait fait l'année passée, ça c'est en langage, ça nous a créé English language. Nous tombons à 3%, ça nous a créé percentage point, mais nous still ni 70%. Mais l'année passée nous tenions 73.
Mais qui est le ministre qui a mis en place pour ça, vous avez anglais?
Quand nous avons dit, ministre de l'Éducation qui a mis en place, là, nous avons travaillé avec teachers, nous avons travaillé avec l'école, nous avons travaillé avec ces enfants-là même pour essayer d'augmenter la performance en ces différents sujets.
La nouvelle département quarantine qui travaille bien pour et puis habitants a donc une manière adressée maladie Black Sigatoka qui a détruit l'agriculture pays là. Parole celle-là sorti au chef département là, M. Ryan Ansem.
Nous travaillons bien avec ces plantes, nous les ça qui est anglais more visible avec eux, nous les travaillons avec eux en les planter avec garder comment nous ensemble car travailler pour nous gommer contre Black Sigatoka. Ça nous allons faire encore, nous allons travailler avec Cadi pour nous mener ça qui est resistant varieties. Ça même Black Sigatoka qui allant les mais pas que pêcher il fait en bon chevig. So encore nous avons 6 variétés qui travaillent avec Cadi. Nous avons 4 nous travaillons avec Sirad avec programme Black Sigatoka moun kale ouais ça même kale fait plus result nous allons taper plus result comment nous allons gommer contre Black Sigatoka parce que nous allons taper l'argent en bas BAM en Banana Company Measures European Union kabano de toi l'argent Fair Trade kal tapon l'argent avec Cadi avec Dexia ni l'argent pour faire en banane aussi so nous allons garder comment nous allons mener toutes ces ressources ça ensemble.
En autre nouvelle, 9 étudiants Dominique tapent Opportunity Scholarship pour étudier en People's Republic of China. Et une cérémonie prend place vendredi qui passé, on lance étudiant là recevoir document ailleurs pour voyager. Senior Administrative Officer, Ministre Éducation Chandler Hyacinth, représenté Ministre Éducation Honourable Peter Saint-Jean en cérémonie pendant ambassadeur People's Republic of China pour Dominique, His Excellency Li Jiangning, représenté pays. Madame Hyacinth fait parole en cérémonie qui programme là ses visions gouvernement tapé autant dominicains obtenir un haut état d'éducation et puis aussi avancer ressources développement PPA. Ambassadeur Li fait parole qui ça a montré bon relation là qui a existé entre China et puis Dominique. Depuis Dominique établit relation diplomatique et puis China 10 l'année qui passée, China a déjà dépensé 7 millions de dollars US en bas programme là. Finalement, Association Dominica Guadeloupe fait donation bagage charitable pour Dominicains qui méritaient, ça c'est bagage wheelchair. Dominica Council et Jean recevait ces bagages là pendant une cérémonie semaine passée. En parole et délivrée, ministère Service Social Honourable Gloria Shillingford remercie l'association là pour donation là. Mayor Worship Iron John, président Dominica Council et Jean Evander Joseph, en parmi d'autres délivré parole merci pour l'association là. Président Dominica Guadeloupe Association, Mémond Paul, fait parole comment il qui continue faire donation. Si l'on officier Seco catholique à Guadeloupe Sandra Meridon, il a bien plaisir pour te brancher et puis association Dominique assister et puis donation là.
Nous remercier de l'invitation là fait nous. Donc responsable nous et présidente la PATP Vin. Donc c'est moi qui venu avec un collègue à moi qui est originaire lui-même de la Dominique, Alice Létan. Donc Secours catholique sont une association humanitaire qui a aidé tout le monde, sans garder ni religion, ni catégorie sociale. Nous là pour aider tout le monde qui besoin. Donc, quelle que soit demande là, il y a fait nous des moments, nous avons essayé de la mesure du possible, avec accord à siège en nous qui à Paris quand même, nous avons tenu informé de ça, nous avons fait, et nous avons répondu à attendre à tout le monde. Donc, nous comptons en collaboration là que nous avons menée depuis un petit moment avec M. Paul, puisque chaque fois qu'il vient, il rend nous compte de ça, il fait. Les besoins invités, nous avons essayé de répondre rapidement, puisque nous connaissons les difficultés, c'est nous avons rencontré incident. Donc, nous avons fait de la mesure du possible pour satisfaire. Et en fait, là, nous avons dit satisfaire. Satisfaire, c'est nous qui besoin là. C'est ça.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non, moi, c'est McPherson. Au revoir.
Ways to save yourself some money. Coming up next.
An unwelcomed visitor has entered our island and is seeking to cause havoc. The giant African snail may move slowly, but it rapidly destroys all in its path. Left unchecked, it can devastate our agriculture. Our farming community is at risk. In large numbers, they are unsightly. Because they may also carry a disease which affects humans, our tourism industry is threatened. If this snail is allowed to become established in our land, the consequences are frightening. We all have a part to play to make our land free from this pest. Crush the giant African snail now.
DOWASCO recognizes that clean water is vital to healthy living. Therefore, it spares no effort in providing a clean, safe, and reliable system. Help keep our rivers safe and clean. Do not cut trees along the river banks and do not pollute with garbage, human or animal feces, and chemicals. Think water, think life.
Incorporating these tips will help you to save a good amount of money over the course of 1 year. Cook at home often. If it's difficult for you, start out with cooking at home once a week and gradually increase the number of days. Make a list before going shopping. If you plan on cooking at home, pre-plan a rough menu and make a list before you go grocery shopping. Getting all that you need in one trip can help avoid another unnecessary trip and temptation. And lastly, avoid impulse buying. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Like us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. On behalf of the GIS News production team, I am Nisha Charles. Thanks for watching.